In 1912, the world built a ship so huge, so luxurious, and so advanced that people whispered a dangerous word about it: unsinkable. 4 days into its first voyage, that ship hit an iceberg, snapped in two, and disappeared beneath the Atlantic in less than 3 hours. Over 1,500 people never came home. Families, workers, millionaires, children. This isn't just a story about a ship. It's a story about human confidence, ignored warnings, and the moment the world learned that nothing we build is truly unsinkable. At the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, the Titanic rose out of steel and rivets like a floating city. She was almost 270 meters long. Inside, electric elevators, a swimming pool, smoking rooms, and suites decorated like luxury hotels. This was technology flexing its muscles. Newspapers bragged about her watertight compartments and bulkheads. The design looked so modern that many believed nothing at sea could touch her. But while the world admired her beauty, one simple fact was quietly ignored. There were lifeboats for barely half the people on board. On April 10, 1912, Titanic left Southampton bound for New York. On board were more than 2,200 people. Wealthy industrialists and celebrities in first class, teachers, clerks, and families in second, and hundreds of migrants in third class chasing a new life across the ocean. For 4 days, the voyage felt like a dream. Music in the lounges, fine dinners, children exploring the decks. But alongside the music and laughter, another sound filled the ship's wireless room. Ice warnings from other ships up ahead. By the night of April 14th, Titanic had entered a patch of ocean sailors called Iceberg Alley. The sea was eerily calm, so still that survivors later said it looked like glass reflecting the stars above. No moon, no waves, just darkness. In the crow's nest, 2 lookouts scanned the horizon. They had no binoculars. A simple mix-up before departure meant they never got them. At 11:40 p.m., one of them finally saw it, a shape even darker than the night. Iceberg, right ahead. Titanic's officers ordered the helm turned and the engines slowed. The giant ship began to swing aside, but not fast enough. Instead of a head-on collision, the iceberg scraped along the starboard side, slashing open multiple compartments below the waterline. To most passengers, it felt like a long, gentle shudder. Dishes rattled, a few people stumbled. Many simply shrugged and went back to their cabins. But deep below, seawater rushed in. In the ship's plans, Titanic could stay afloat with 4 flooded compartments. That night, 5 were torn open. The difference between 4 and 5 was the difference between damage and doom. Titanic's designer, Thomas Andrews, inspected the damage and gave Captain Edward Smith the verdict no one wanted to hear. She will sink. It is a mathematical certainty. They had just a couple of hours. Above them, the ship still looked solid and safe. The band played on, people joked, wrapped in blankets, watching the commotion as if it were a drill. When orders finally came to uncover the lifeboats, many passengers hesitated. Would you leave a brightly lit, enormous ship for a small boat in the freezing dark with no proof anything was really wrong? Titanic carried just 20 lifeboats, enough for around half the people on board if every seat was filled. They weren't. Some boats that could hold more than 60 people were launched with barely 30 inside. Others left with even fewer. First-class passengers, close to the boat deck, had easier access. Many in third class faced language barriers, confusing corridors, and delays being allowed up. The rule, women and children first, was enforced strictly on one side of the ship, loosely on the other. As the bow sank lower, the tilt of the deck increased. The music kept playing, and every lifeboat that left half empty meant more people would later have no chance at all. The water was just below freezing, around -2 degrees Celsius. In that temperature, a person could lose consciousness in minutes. Engineers kept the power running as long as they could, so the lights stayed on and more boats could be launched. Shortly after 2 a.m., with the bow deep underwater and the stern lifting high, the Titanic's structure finally gave way. The ship broke apart and slipped beneath the surface. In the darkness that followed, hundreds of people floated in life jackets, calling for help that could not reach them. Some lifeboats turned back. Most didn't, afraid they'd be swamped. By the time a few returned, the cries had mostly gone silent. Around 4 a.m., another ship arrived, the Carpathia. Its crew pulled the survivors from the lifeboats, wrapped them in blankets, and sailed them to New York. Out of more than 2,200 souls who left Southampton, about 700 survived. The rest lay in the cold Atlantic, far from home. Investigations after the disaster changed maritime law. Lifeboats for everyone on board. 24-hour radio watch. New international safety rules at sea. But the deeper lesson is about us. The Titanic story is what happens when warnings are ignored, when image matters more than safety, and when we believe our creations are too big to fail. More than a century later, we still build our own Titanics. Systems, companies, and technologies we think are unsinkable. The ocean doesn't care. If this story made you think, don't let it sink here. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. What do you think is today's Titanic? The thing everyone believes can't fail.
Please like and subscribe for more content.